Breaking news tonight. The war has just moved from the air to the earth. In a massive overnight strike, the US and Israel have executed industrial decapitation, effectively deleting Iran's ability to manufacture war. The Mobarakeh Steel Company, the 35 square kilometer spine of the Iranian military-industrial complex, is in ruins. But that's not the headline. The headline is what Prime Minister Netanyahu just confirmed. The coalition has officially shifted its objective from containment to physical seizure. We have confirmed reports that a joint task force of U.S. Delta Force and Israeli Sayeret Matkal are currently staging for a ground entry mission into the Isfahan Nuclear Technology Center. The goal? To capture Iran's 60% enriched uranium stockpile by hand before it can be moved into deep city bunkers. The furnaces are cold, the iron crush is here, and the race for the world's most dangerous material has begun. Here is the global context. At 2:15 a.m. local time, the night sky over Isfahan didn't turn orange from the sunrise. It turned orange from the molten heart of the Iranian economy being ripped open. In a coordinated strike involving U.S. B-2 Spirit bombers flying from Diego Garcia and Israeli F-35, Adir jets, Mobarakeh Steel, the largest producer in the region, was subjected to a saturation thermal strike. For decades, Mobarakeh has provided the specialized HSLA, high-strength low-alloy, steel for the IRGC's ballistic missiles, and the heavy plating for their Zulfikar naval craft. As of this morning, those assembly lines are dead. The significance of Isfahan cannot be overstated. It is the industrial solar plexus of Iran. By hitting Mobarakeh, the coalition didn't just hit a factory, they hit the logistics anchor for the entire axis of resistance. Reports from the ground indicate that secondary explosions lasted for over 6 hours. These weren't missile secondary detonations. They were the oxygen enrichment plants and chemical storage units, critical for high-grade steel purification, igniting in a chain reaction. The iron crush isn't just about stopping today's missiles. It's about ensuring Iran cannot build a single tank or casing for the next decade. To understand why targeting a steel mill is a strategic masterstroke, you have to look at the chemistry of modern warfare. You cannot build a Fateh 110 missile or a suicide drone out of ordinary scrap metal. You need specialized thermal-resistant alloys. The strike utilized a new class of high-temperature incendiary munitions. When a B-2 hits a steel mill's cooling system, or its electric arc furnaces, EAF, it causes a catastrophic thermal runaway. At the moment of the strike, Mobarakeh was at peak production. Thousands of tons of molten iron were being processed. When the power grid failed due to the strikes, the cooling pump stopped. The molten steel inside the massive 200-ton ladles froze in place. In engineering terms, this is a total loss event. You cannot just restart a frozen ladle. You have to cut it apart with industrial lasers. Iran didn't just lose a factory, they lost the mother machine. This is what military analysts call kinetic economic warfare, using bombs to achieve a permanent industrial reset. This escalation marks the official start of the Hegseth Netanyahu doctrine, the systematic removal of Iran's status as a regional industrial power. Operation Epic Fury has moved from military suppression to economic erasure. The coalition is now targeting the 4 pillars of Iranian survival: steel, oil, electricity, and water. By hitting Mobarakeh and the Khuzestan steel complexes, they are creating a massive internal refugee crisis. This is total war by other means. Over 50,000 industrial workers, the elite of Iran's workforce, are now unemployed in a single night. The U.S. is betting that by destroying the industrial middle class, the internal pressure on the Iranian regime will become more lethal than any external bomb. They are forcing the IRGC to choose. Use your remaining fuel and electricity to power your missile launchers, or use it to keep your cities from collapsing into starvation and darkness. As of 08:00 a.m. today, Isfahan is reporting a 70% power grid failure. While the steel mills burned, Prime Minister Netanyahu made a chilling announcement. He stated that the war's focus has shifted to securing Iran's enriched uranium stockpile. This is a pivot of monumental proportions. Up until last night, the strategy was to bomb the facilities at Natanz and Fordo, but bombing a nuclear stockpile is a tactical nightmare. It risks a dirty release that could contaminate the entire Middle East. Netanyahu's words imply something far more aggressive: special operations seizure. Sources suggest that a joint task force black is currently on high alert. This isn't a bombing run, it's an extraction. The goal is to physically enter the Isfahan uranium conversion facility, secure the canisters of 60% enriched UF6, uranium hexafluoride, and fly them out using modified CV-22 Ospreys. This is the most dangerous mission in military history. If a single canister is breached during an extraction firefight, Isfahan becomes a permanent exclusion zone. There is a secret reason why Mobarakeh was the priority target: the Russian resupply deal. Intelligence reports indicate that Russia has been struggling with its own tank production for the war in Ukraine and had recently signed a steel for satellites deal with Tehran. Iran was providing Russia with high-grade steel for T-90 tank hulls in exchange for the very satellite data that allowed Iran to hit the U.S. AWACS at Prince Sultan Air Base. By destroying Mobarakeh, the U.S. has effectively crippled the Russian tank industry and the Iranian missile industry in one blow. This is the definition of global context. A bomb dropped in Isfahan today means fewer tanks on the front lines in the Donbas tomorrow. It means the axis of resistance is losing its material reality. Russia cannot resupply Iran if they can't even supply themselves, and with the furnaces at Mobarakeh gone, the barter system of this alliance is officially broken. Moscow's satellite feed to Tehran is now a one-way street with no payment coming back. As news of the industrial decapitation hit the wires, the London Metal Exchange, LME, went into a state of limit-up suspension. Steel prices jumped 12% in 4 hours. But the real story is gold. Gold is the only currency left for a nation whose industry has been vaporized. Iran is reportedly dumping its remaining oil on the black market at distress prices as low as $30 a barrel, just to buy physical gold bullion to pay its mercenary forces in Lebanon and Iraq. We are seeing the birth of a warflationary spiral. As the Middle East's industrial capacity disappears, the cost of everything from rebar to shipping containers is skyrocketing. The nuclear premium on oil at $157 is now being joined by an industrial premium on metals. This is why your portfolio is seeing red while gold stays at $4,500. The world is realizing that you can't build a digital economy on a broken iron foundation. We must address the scientific reality of Netanyahu's seizure plan. Isfahan is a city of 2 million people. The nuclear research facilities are dangerously close to the industrial zones that were hit last night. If the coalition attempts a ground seizure of the uranium stockpile and fails, or if a loitering munition hits a storage cask by mistake, we aren't looking at a 12-meter crater. We are looking at the evacuation of central Iran. The U.S. is currently using radiation detection drones to monitor the air quality over Isfahan every 15 minutes. They are terrified that the IRGC might try to booby-trap the stockpile, a scorched earth policy, where if they can't have their nuclear material, no one can. This is a game of nuclear chicken where the stakes are the lives of millions. There's a human cost to industrial decapitation that the media ignores. Mobarakeh Steel supported entire cities. It provided the pensions, the healthcare, and the social fabric of Isfahan. By destroying the steel mills, the coalition has effectively deleted the contract between the Iranian state and its people. For the first time, we are seeing reports of mass strikes and bread riots in the industrial outskirts. The IRGC is being forced to pull troops from the border with Israel to suppress their own workers in Isfahan. This is the internal collapse strategy in action. The U.S. doesn't need to invade Tehran if the workers of Mobarakeh do it for them. China, the largest buyer of Iranian steel and oil, has gone completely silent. Beijing is the invisible loser of last night's strikes. They had billions invested in the modernization of Mobarakeh. By destroying these plants, the U.S. has sent a clear message to Beijing: your investments in our enemies are not safe. We are now watching for a Chinese naval response in the South China Sea. If China decides that the destruction of their belt and road infrastructure in Iran is an act of economic war against them, the Iron Crush could lead directly to a Pacific conflict. As we speak, an ultimatum is being delivered to Tehran via the Swiss embassy. The terms are simple: surrender the enriched stockpile within 48 hours, or face the final phase. The final phase is a veiled reference to the total destruction of the national power grid and the permanent closure of all Iranian oil terminals. The U.S. is giving Iran a choice: give up your nuclear dream, or watch your country return to the 19th century. With the furnaces at Mobarakeh already cold, the Iranian leadership knows that this isn't a bluff. They can no longer build their way out of this crisis. Conclusion. The image of the day is the frozen ladle at Mobarakeh, a perfect metaphor for the Iranian state. They were in the middle of a regional expansion, and then the lights went out. The Iron Crush has proven that you don't need to occupy a country to destroy it. You just need to take away its ability to build. Subscribe to Global Context. Hit the notification bell. The final phase is about to begin. Stay sharp, stay informed.